your hands shaking? It's courage in the making. The stage is yours for the taking. I've been waiting in the shadows, holding back what I should say. Got a fire inside my chest now, but I push the flame away. Every step felt like a mountain, every word got lost in doubt. Still a voice inside kept calling, this is what your life's about. Do you feel it in your soul? Some will say it's time to rise now, from the hiding in my head, from the voice that keeps on whispering, it's for someone else instead. But I'm done with playing smaller, done with waiting to be saved. I was born to move a heartbeat. Oh, I am strong and I am brave. I can feel it in my soul. Just honest, not fearless, just true. One story can open a completely different view. Trust the process, trust your voice. This is your moment, this is your choice. It's time to step up, it's time to speak up. And when I scale up, I can change my world, your world, the whole world.
Let's go. Welcome, 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 every single one of you amazing people. And what time is it? Well, it's time to step up. It's time to speak up. It's time to scale up. And it's time to blow up the stage today at the Speaking Summit. Welcome to our graduation. What a powerful moment this is. And the first thing I want to know, of course, is where are you guys tuning in from? Because I know we got an international audience here in the house. So where are you coming from? Where is our global audience situated today? We got Nicole, who's in Germany. Oh my goodness. We got Carolyn, who is in Texas. I think it's Texas. Let's see it in the chat. Where are you from? Because you guys are not just an audience today. You are a part of this transformation right here that is going to be. Yes, Texas, Carolyn. I love it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are part of this transformation because you know yourself. It's not just about turning up. It's about showing up and playing full out. Because today we have three, how many? Three incredible speakers sharing three very different transformations. Linda, I see you from South New Jersey. Beautiful. So our transformation today, we're going to go from tax stress to tax financial freedom. We're going to go from difficult decisions to creative clarity. And we're going to go from lonely self-care to sustainable community care. And you guys are going to witness what happens when someone chooses to step up and be seen and heard. And this is the power of community and transformation. People have been connecting within this group for shared purpose of growth. So we're going to make this a celebration today. It's not just a speaking event, it's also a transformation event. Because our speakers today have not just learned to present, they've learned to speak their truth. Over the last 8 weeks, they have been building the muscle to share what's on their hearts with confidence, with courage, and with clarity. And you guys today, you are the part that really matters. You are going to bring the energy. So I want to see it in the chat. I want to hear your comments, and I want to feel your presence, because that really matters, because that's where transformation happens. We don't learn by engaging. We don't learn just by listening. We learn by engaging. So make sure that you guys are playing full out. Write notes like you're going to teach it to your best friend. Type yes in the chat and answer the questions when our incredible speakers today invite you to become part of your own transformation. And when we do that, when we engage, when we play full out, we're going to remember this 10 times more than if we just sit and listen passively. So who's ready to show up, to participate in the chat, and to support our speakers today? Let me see a 1 in the chat if you are ready, audience, because you really matter. And before we bring up our first speaker today, I got 3 questions for you. First question, how can you guys make it easy on yourself? Well, here's a simple way. Just listen to one idea that lands for you. Maybe you won't take in everything today, but what's the one thing that really made an impact for you? Number 2, how do you make it fun for yourself? Well, let's have fun in the chat. Play full out. Drop a yes. Drop an emoji. What's your favorite emoji? For me, it's the fire symbol, because I love to do firewalks. What's the symbol for you? Pick your emoji and let's see it so we know it's you in the chat. And the more energy you bring, the more we're going to feel this end. And how can you make this impactful for yourself? Well, we make it impactful by engaging. Take one insight and don't just listen to it. Do something with it. Apply it. Maybe you want to share the live stream. Maybe you want to message one of the speakers and tell them how great they were. Or maybe you want to take one of the things you learned today and turn it into a conversation that could change someone's life. So, our first speaker today, we're going to begin with a topic that affects almost every business owner, entrepreneur, and high-income earner. Have we got any entrepreneurs and high-income earners in the house? Let me see your emojis in the chat, because our first speaker is here to help you to see taxes in a completely different way. Lupita Espina is a tax strategist with 17 years experience as a tax preparer. Now she's an advisor. This is your classic poacher turned gamekeeper situation, because she brings strategy, clarity, and proactive planning to a space where people often feel confused, stressed, and overwhelmed. I know I do. Lupita has made it her mission to help people who are hit with big tax bills to understand their numbers and create a plan so they can leverage their assets rather than paying these money. And she's been proactively helping business owners reduce their tax bill by $60,000 in a year. Who would love an extra $60,000 on their bottom line every year? Well, if you would, then please welcome to the stage with her talk, Build Wealth Through Tax Saving, the incredible Lupita Espina. Welcome to the stage, Lupita. Take it away. The stage is yours.
Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here. A little nervous, but more than anything, I am so excited. I'm so happy that you are here as well. And I just want to start with this. Freedom. Freedom with your time, freedom with your money, freedom to choose how you live, how you give, and how you grow. Who here started their business because they wanted more freedom? Put one in the chat. Yeah, I see it. And I don't mean I work 80 hours a week, so technically I'm my own boss, but real freedom. The kind where the business is not just making money, but actually helping you keep it. Because let's be honest, it is hard to feel free when every tax season feels like a financial ambush. Every year, hardworking business owners hand the IRS money they were never legally required to pay. And it's not because they did anything wrong, it's because nobody taught them. There is another way. For 17 years, I have seen the shocked disbelief faces when they would hear the words, you owe $10,000, you owe $40,000, you owe $100,000. This is what you have to pay. And sometimes the simple explanation was, you just make too much money. To this day, I regret saying these words to my clients because now I know that making money was never the problem. Not having a plan was. But the truth is, I was stuck too. I was a single mom with 2 daughters, going through a divorce, working 2 to sometimes 3 jobs. And I vividly remember this one night, the night that changed everything, the night that turned my life upside down. Around 10 p.m., I walked outside. I sat on my porch. And the first thing I remember was looking up at the sky and just admiring the beauty of the stars. And for just a moment, I felt so grateful I could see a night like that. And then the weight came back. The bills, the divorce, my girls, the exhaustion, the feeling that I kept making the wrong decisions. I felt off, even from my bubbly, energetic self. I felt like a failure. I never told anyone this story, but that night I really felt like giving up. And I just looked up at the stars and I said out loud, what is my purpose? Why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? Now, some people might call that an existential crisis. I just call that another Tuesday. But underneath the humor, I knew something was true. I was tired of living a life that didn't feel like mine. And the answer did not come right away. In fact, it actually got harder, a lot harder. But I had been training for a Spartan race because that's who I am. I love to challenge myself, do hard things on purpose. And I'm the kind of person who likes to win, whether my opponent is another person running beside me or the IRS when I'm fighting for my clients. I will find a way. But during that season, I tore my hamstring. I couldn't walk. I couldn't get out of bed. And my mind was constantly racing, as a single mom, already trying to hold everything together. That moment just broke me in a way I wasn't expecting. when I was finally able to return to the gym, I got scammed. You guys ever seen a person at the gym in crutches? I was that girl. Trying to move from station to station, limping. What was I thinking? What was I thinking? Well, I got scammed, $1,500. The last money I had, and some of it I had even borrowed. And I remember thinking, really? This too? And you may be wondering, what does this have to do with taxes? But truly, looking back, I think that was the moment life finally got my attention, because I had a choice to make. Am I going to keep surviving and reacting, or am I going to start building and being proactive? Can anyone guess what I did next? Put that in the chat. I started building. I sat comfortably on my couch with my jams in the background, punching in the information on my keyboard, thinking, am I even doing this right? I read everything twice. Every section, I would read it, reread it, take a deep breath, and click to continue. And with every click, the nerves slowly started to fade. This was when I was registering my LLC. And there was a little voice in my head that said, yes, girl, you got this. Make your dreams come true. And I jumped up and down, smiling and excited when everything got accepted and everything went through. And immediately, my thought was, okay, now what? I had funded my business account with $900 I had saved up. And I bought 3 things, just 3. A desk, a laptop, and a printer. That was my day 1. It's not fancy, it's not perfect, but it was mine. And for the first time in a really long time, I felt proud. I felt energized. Anyone ever feel that excitement and that thought of, oh, that was not so bad, after doing the thing you have been afraid and avoiding to do? Yes. For years, I had avoided this, and I noticed my confidence started to grow. I started to feel more aligned, and I felt like freedom was just around the corner. The first year, I had 20 clients. My second year, I had 50. And every year after that, it kept growing. My clients would tell their friends and family, and it was such an amazing feeling. I loved my job, and I was great at it. But I felt stuck again because I realized I created the same problem. I was still just filing returns after the fact and still handing people a number, still saying, this is what you owe. And again, the same thought, this cannot be it. There has to be another way. That is when I started learning about advisory. Not just tax preparation, but strategy, planning, understanding the rules, and how to use them legally and intentionally. I implemented those strategies in my own business. When I was going to face a $20,000 bill. And that led me those savings allowed me to expand and build a team, hire a team. Then I started helping my clients do the same. And what I learned was the same thing that changed my life is the same thing that changes a business owner's tax situation. You have to stop reacting and start creating. So let me ask you this. Are you going to keep surviving and reacting every tax season? Or are you going to take control, start building, and become proactive? That choice changed my life. And it can change the way you run your business too. Because tax freedom does not happen accidentally. Freedom happens when you stop reacting and start planning. And today I want to help you look at the IRS differently, not just as the Internal Revenue Service, but as a strategy, your IRS. Identify, reduce, save. Identify what your numbers are telling you. Reduce what you legally do not have to pay. And save more of your hard-earned money so you can build wealth, grow your business with confidence, and live with freedom. And to do that, we also need to look at your P&L differently, your profit and loss statement. That statement is just a report that shows what the income the business has made and the expenses it has. So you can see your profit, what it's actually gained or lost. But see it as a plan and leverage, because when you understand your numbers, you can plan ahead and leverage the opportunities already inside your business. So let's start with the first step. Identify. Tax season is not when your tax problem starts. It's actually when your lack of planning gets exposed. The first step is to identify what is actually happening in your business before it becomes a surprise. You see, most business owners think taxes are something they deal with between January through April. The cycle repeats. They gather the documents, they hand everything to their tax preparer, they wait for their number and hope it's not too bad. But most of your options are already gone by then. The most important time for tax planning is not January through April. It's May through December, because that is when you still have time to identify what needs attention, to plan for what needs to happen, and to leverage what is available to you. I was at my office reviewing some onboarding documents. I was about to send a new client when my team said there's someone on the line. They were saying it's an emergency, and I quickly thought, oh my gosh, is my kids? What's going on? Are they okay? What's happening? When I took the call, I heard this. Lupita, I need your help. I haven't done my taxes for 3 years. I don't have anything ready. I'm afraid I'm going to pay a lot in taxes. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? He had explained that he had dropped off his documents, everything, to another lady who he had been paying for bookkeeping services on a monthly basis. Except nothing had been done. It's been 3 years. No P&Ls. There's no clear picture of what was actually going on. So I told him, let's slow down. We will book an appointment because you have multiple years to go over. And we're not going to solve this in one rushed meeting. We booked the appointment. And before we filed anything, we had to organize, restructure, get a good idea of the whole picture. Except that fear grew louder for him. And he jumped the gun. He got ahead and he filed those returns with that person. Oh, he reached out to us a second time. And this second time when he came back, he sounded very, very different. Disbelief, shock, fear, even more fear, unsure that nothing could be done. When he walked into my office, his shoulders were dropped. There was anguish in his face, and he was just dragging his feet. He looked like he wanted to just give up. And honestly, inside my thoughts were, why didn't you wait for your appointment? That was the one thought that just kept popping in my head, and I immediately replaced it with, okay, how can we help? Let's help him get out of the situation. There weren't many words of exchange except for, is there anything we can do? He handed me the returns and I looked through the paperwork. The sum of those 3 years was over $200,000. $200,000. This is what panic does. It makes you move fast before you can see clearly the full picture. And the answer was yes. There were things we could do, but I also had to tell them, I wish you had come to me first. Once we completed the assessment, we found over $90,000 in missed deductions. We also saw that his business could have been structured differently. And that could have saved him, at the very least, about $120,000. But because we were working backward, it became a longer, harder process. And this is why it's so important that business owners understand they need the right person on their team. Someone who knows how taxes can be reduced legally and proactively. What you don't identify in time, you may end up paying for later. And there's this phrase I like to say, and panic is expensive. Planning is profitable. So if you take anything from this first point, let it be this. Do not wait until tax season to find out what your business has been trying to tell you all year. Look at your profit and loss statement. Not just seeing it as your profit and loss statement, but your opportunity to plan, to leverage. Review your numbers and ask questions before the year ends. Because planning only works when there is still time to make a move. But once you identify what is happening, the next step is to reduce what you do not have to pay. That is my favorite part. And you may be asking yourself, what if I already do this? Perfect timing, because the next step is to reduce, right? And this is where I want to be very clear. You do not have to understand the entire tax code. You do not have to go pull those books and read everything about the tax code. You just need to understand how to ask better questions. Most business owners avoid their numbers because those reports feel very confusing. The P&Ls, they feel intimidating. And that balance sheet is just another language completely. And because they don't know what to look for, they stop looking. Your P&L is not just a profit and loss statement. It can be your plan and leverage. I believe that the numbers are not here to judge you. They are there to guide you. Back when I started working with a framing contractor, I was their tax preparer. They added bookkeeping services to his business. And at first, they were afraid of the monthly investment. But what they were more afraid of was owing the IRS. So when we were getting together for one of our quarterly reviews, I sat across from them and I congratulated them. It was an exciting moment because we got to see how much their business was growing. So I shared with them, your business is doing really well. And that is something to celebrate. But with numbers like these, a tax bill is going to follow. And I could see them taking it all in, but also the realization of having to pay $60,000, over $60,000. So I explained to them, this is what your numbers are showing. This is what could happen if you do nothing. And this is what we may be able to do if we plan before the year ends. When they saw that they could save thousands in taxes, they were more than happy to get started. They actually were nervous at first, but they were open. They trusted the process. And when time came, when we sat down and reviewed their tax returns, their jaws dropped because the first year they were shocked by how little they had to actually pay. They had saved $57,000 and only paid $3,500. And the second year, their jaws dropped again, but for a different reason. They saved another $52,000, but they actually received a $4,000 refund. They were super relieved. They were ecstatic. They were shocked and truly, truly grateful because they had believed what so many business owners believe. And that is, if I own a business, I just have to pay every time. But I'm here to tell you that that's not true. They had saved $109,000 in 2 years. $109,000. That's not small change. I felt overjoyed because it confirmed my purpose. My thoughts at that moment were, this is why I left corporate. This is why I started my business. And this is what it feels like to actually help people. And even though the money was theirs, I felt like I was saving too. And this was not about luck. This was not magic. It was data, planning, leverage, and strategy. You see, the IRS and the numbers are not the enemy. The numbers are the map. And if you're afraid to look at your numbers, I want you to hear this. Avoiding them does not protect you. It only removes your power to make decisions. When you know your numbers, you can ask better questions. Excuse me. Questions like, where am I overspending? How can I increase profit? How can the tax code benefit me? Is there anything in the tax code I can use? These are the kind of questions that move you from confusion and into strategy. And once you identify what is happening and you reduce what you legally do not have to pay, you create room to save. And that is the third step. Save. And I don't just mean save money in a bank account. I mean save yourself from the panic, from the surprise, from the belief that growth has to punish you. I have heard so many business owners say, I don't want to make more money because then I'll just have to pay more in taxes. I've even heard some say that maybe I should just go back to my W-2 job because business and taxes are just too much. And when I hear that, I don't judge them. I understand them. Because what they're really saying is, I don't feel safe. I don't feel confident in growing because I don't understand what growth is going to cost me. But making more money is not the problem. Growing without a strategy, without a plan is. As I was reviewing the reports during the third quarter with one of my clients, he had told me, I don't understand. This feels like I'm paying a lot. And I understood it because when you're running a business, serving clients, managing the money, and following a strategy at the same time, it can feel very overwhelming. And my response was, right now, this feels like more because you're seeing it on a monthly basis. You're paying more on a monthly basis, but you're not paying more on a monthly basis. You're actually just paying ahead. You're spreading out your payments through the year. Excuse me. I had explained this is similar to when you work for someone else. The taxes come out from your paycheck, except now you are the employee and also the business owner. So as both, you pay the payroll taxes as the employee and the business owner. However, we are doing this for a reason. We are protecting a portion of your business income from a tax called self-employment tax. And this happens with the new structure, your S-Corp structure. I reassured him the savings and the outcome will show on the return. Right now, this is just compliance work. Stick to the plan. And at first, he didn't fully see it. He struggled with it a little bit, right? But when we got back together the following year to review his tax return, I will never forget this. He jumped out from his chair, wide-eyed, staring at the screen. And he just yelled, I haven't seen a refund in over 5 years. Instead of him paying $15,000, having to pay $15,000, he actually got a $500 check. And in that moment, it clicked for him. He understood it. Now he makes his payments and moves forward, and he gets to live with more freedom. That is what real strategy helps you do. It helps you save money. It helps you save your peace. It helps you save your energy and the freedom. You started your business in the first place for freedom, not to create panic or fear. You want to grow with the understanding that taxes are actually in your favor. The tax code is in your favor, in the business owner's favor. The right structure, the right plan will help you get there. It is your pathway to wealth instead of a reason to panic. Because at the end of the day, this was never just about taxes. It was always about freedom. Years ago, I sat on my porch asking, what is my purpose? I did not know then that that answer would come through tax returns, P&Ls, business structures, helping entrepreneurs stop living in fear of the IRS. But now I know my purpose is to help business owners stop handing away money and power, freedom that they were never meant to lose. So this year, don't wait for taxes to reveal what already needs your attention. Use your IRS. Identify, reduce, and save. Identify what your numbers are telling you. Reduce what you do not have to pay, and save more of your hard-earned money so you can build your wealth, grow your business with confidence, and live with freedom. And whether you have been in business for years, or you're just starting, or still playing with the idea of starting your business, remember, your P&L is not just your profit and loss statement. It is your plan. It is your opportunity to plan and leverage, because the numbers are not the enemy. The numbers are your map.
Oh my,
Thank you.
oh my goodness, Lupita, that was absolutely incredible.
I want to cry.
I want to cry. I think a lot of us want to cry when we've been wasting so much money to the IRS when we should have been identifying, reducing, and saving, and using planning and leveraging instead of just a profit and loss. Wow. How did that feel for you?
It felt great. It felt good to share everything I wanted to share. And I really, really hope that, it transformed at least someone or helped someone in some way.
Yeah, sure. And I love how you turn something, finance and numbers that can feel really heavy sometimes, taxes, bills, numbers, and you made it something really empowering. And you reminded us that the numbers are not the enemy. They're to confuse us, but they're actually there to guide us like a map. So I want to ask the audience now, drop in the chat, what is one number, one question, or one plan in your business that you're inspired to look at differently? And let's hear it for one more time for Lupita. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Lupita.
Thank you.
Okay, next onto the stage, we have a completely different kind of transformation. Because this transformation is the kind when art and stories come together to create more life. Who wants more life through art and stories and creativity? Well, if you do, you're in the right place, because Carmen Drew, one of the things she's known for is her unique napkin vision stories, which are pretty cool. And Carmen has made it her mission to use art and storytelling to inspire others to manage those difficult life decisions. So I cannot wait to hear, because I know that her message helps people to reduce fear and begin problem solving in completely new creative ways. So please help me welcome to the stage with her talk, Defining Moments Through Storytelling and Art, the amazing, the incredible Carmen Drew. Welcome, Carmen. Take it away. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Luke. What do you really love? I hope you're doing a lot of it. Things that bring you joy and the feeling of love. When you do that, you just may retain your health and your joy instead of losing both. Maybe you've gotten to be as old as I am and you're still feeling like, am I really enough? Well, let me take you back to a time of 1956. I was a small child sitting under the kitchen table. I had somehow collected a cardboard round oatmeal box, paper, a pencil, and a ball of yarn. Well, what I did is I took that pencil and I poked a hole in that lid. And I put that ball of string into the container and pulled that string through the lid. And as young as I was just in joy. My right brain just went nuts. I was so excited. I created something. And that feeling of joy led me to becoming a art therapist and a teacher. I taught K through 12. I taught in the junior college, and I even worked with after-school programs with children, which gave me a lot of happiness. Well, last year I was sitting in church with my husband Rocky, and our pastor said this scripture. It was Jeremiah 29:11. And when I heard that, it's a very favorite scripture that inspires me. So I reached for a pen and began to write on the program. I didn't know if it was the ink in the pen or the glitch in my brain, but something wasn't happening. I took a note of that. The next morning, I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, and I couldn't hold my toothbrush. That's when I realized something was seriously wrong. And I'd read this book, Stroke of Insight, and that connected. I think something is seriously wrong. So I rushed to the kitchen, told Rocky that breakfast is over. We've got to go to the hospital because I'm having a stroke. We arrived at the hospital and I explained to the nurse what's happening to me. She does all the protocol, gets me organized. Then the next thing is imaging. So I'm sitting in a wheelchair and I'm moving into the imaging room, and all these questions started coming. Am I broken? What did I do to cause this? What's next? Well, in the imaging machine, I start hearing a whoosh, whoosh, whoosh sound. And then I hear a bang, bang, bang. And the only thing I knew, because I had so much understanding of what the right brain does, and that's the storytelling section, I went to that and I started labeling the sounds. The whoosh, whoosh, whoosh was the helicopter on top of the hospital building. The bang, 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 it had to be Rocky. He was trying to give me a message that he was there and he was going to be there. Well, when I started the storytelling, my anxiety started drifting down. My breathing started slowing down. And then I remembered Jeremiah 29. I know I have the plans I have for you, not to harm you, but to make you prosperous. When you have creativity and you have faith, what more could you ask for in a situation like that? So at the neurologist appointment sometimes later, I saw the scan of my brain. There was an almond-shaped white spot on my left brain, which caused the paralysis in my right hand. I'm just kind of taking it steps 1, 2, 3. Not understanding this passage of life, not understanding what caused it, what questions I have of the future. So what I fall back to is my art. And I'd like to show you what I started creating once I felt well. These pictures are of colors, line, shape, and words. Some of the words are grandchildren, adult children, brothers, marriage, health, finances, relationships, friends, learning. And what this did was remind me that I'm recreating my brain. This is actually talking about neurons, synapses. I started studying what happened to me. And once I really got going, things got much better. I started telling my story. And telling the story created wholeness in a healing in my heart. Then it went to going back to my compositions. And that's what you do when you have great medical support, OT and PT, a supportive praying community, people that care. I went for almost a year feeling I was broken. A friend of mine stopped me and asked how I was. And she said, "You're a miracle." So let me ask you again. What do you love to do? And what is your joy? And my hope is that you will do more of that. Thank you.
Oh, what a beautiful message, Carmen. Oh, how did it feel to share that with the world?
It was a miracle.
It certainly was. It certainly was.
It was a lot of grace and a lot of healing. That's what storytelling can do. Healing for the storyteller, and hopefully for storytelling and healing for the listener.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful. I love how you just showed us that the way forward doesn't have to start with all the answers. Sometimes it can be an image, or a story, or a moment, and that from that we can just lean into our imagination. And so, and I love how you just led us gently into this world where imagination can take us out of fear and towards better decision making that just feels more graceful for us. And I want to ask the audience, what did you think then, guys? What phrase or moment from Carmen's talk today is going to stay with you and inspire you to do things differently? Let's hear it one more time for Carmen. Thank you so much, Carmen. Love you. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, our final speaker today is here to challenge one of the biggest myths in self-care and maybe even life, that we have to do it all alone. Dr. Maria van der Marten is a sociologist and community development practitioner. She has more than 20 years of experience working in Latin American communities. And her therapist actually recommended that she should take up a hobby. And that pushed it into wellness and later into writing. And even as a self-confessed introvert, Maria is passionate about collaboration and community. She taught sustainable communities at Iowa State University and Kansas State University before moving all the way across the world to Mendoza in Argentina with a partner and 2 kids in just 2025. And since then, she's been working on an incredible book, Even Monks Meditate Together, which is going to be released in September 2026. So please welcome to the stage with her talk, The Social Side of Care, Dr. Maria van der Marten. Welcome, Dr. Maria. Take it away. The stage is yours.
How many of you have ever contemplated starting a new self-care, health, or wellness practice, but immediately began to calculate whether you had the resources and capacity to make it a sustainable practice? And how many of you have ever silently, quietly sat in the corner and wondered, why does taking care of myself feel so difficult? It shouldn't be this hard. I've asked those questions, I've had those thoughts too. And I think what happens is that we've been taught to see these struggles as individual problems to be solved. But the reality is we've created a model of self-care that asks individuals to solve fundamentally social problems entirely on their own. Now, this may be a bold claim, but it's a conclusion I reached that I really couldn't avoid anymore after an experience that started as the sleep-deprived parent of a newborn and ended with a complete rethinking of self-care. My youngest child, my son Mateo, was finally diagnosed as a poor sleeper, which simply means that the doctors believed us that he wasn't sleeping for more than 25 to 30 minutes at a time. But they did all the tests they could think of. There wasn't anything that explained why he wasn't sleeping, and he was growing, eating, and meeting all of his developmental milestones. So this was just a marker in his file. Now, not knowing that he would finally sleep through the night at age 3, I enrolled in a holistic wellness and fitness coaching certification program when he was just a few weeks old. Now, I joined the program, I jumped in. I implemented the practices, I did the coursework, I met with my accountability group, and I joined the weekly live calls. I did everything I was supposed to be doing. And I saw absolutely zero results in myself. But because I'd also been telling my 3-year-old at that point, you have to go to sleep because sleep is when you grow, sleep is when you get bigger, sleep is how you get healthy. I understood that I was unlikely to see any changes in my own body until I was getting better sleep. So I held on to this confidence and trust that I was building muscle, building habits, and believed in the process. I stuck with it and I kept doing all the things. However, a few months into the program, about 6 months in maybe, one of my cohort colleagues asked a question about getting or keeping coaching clients. Clients were not on my radar. I was a skeptic. That's how I ended up in the program. I wanted to know the ins and outs of the program, how it worked and why it worked so I could believe it really worked for me. So when these questions usually came up, they didn't register with me or didn't stick. I didn't have the bandwidth at that point. But our coach's response to whatever the question was that day was a rather flippant, well, if it's important to them, they'll figure out a way to make it happen. And that set off something inside of me because it shifted the idea of failure from a coaching issue to a client issue. It meant that I could be struggling with, let's say, nutrition, look online, find a healthy eating plan, follow it to the letter, not see any results or fail, hire a coach, repeat with their support, care, concern, ideas, wisdom, not get any results again, and they weren't included in the equation of why I didn't get any results. It didn't seem right to me. Now, at this point, I felt a shift in my entire body. All of the confidence and trust that I'd built up was quickly trickling out through the floor. And my rational brain stepped in, and I could hear it. Maria, this isn't about you. Maria, don't take this personally. Maria, just pretend you didn't hear the question or the answer. But it was too late because my emotional brain had already internalized the comment. And as the good feelings left my body, they were quickly replaced with feelings of blame, shame, guilt, and failure. Because all of a sudden, I was asking questions to myself. Well, if I'm not seeing any results, does that mean I really don't care? Am I not trying hard enough? Is it really all my fault? And I sat in the muck and mud of these questions for the next several days. It wasn't until about a week later, I was grading papers for one of my classes, and I had one of those lightning bolts of revelation. Self-care is one of the only things we do or are expected to do entirely on our own. And once I saw this, I couldn't unsee it because the healthy habits themselves still matter: diet, exercise, sleep. But what no longer made sense to me was the underlying assumption that it's somehow entirely all on me all the time to do all of the things. Despite what the self-care industry tells us, I don't think most people are failing or struggling with wellness because they're not trying or they don't care. Many of us are trying to care for ourselves inside systems that were never designed to support human well-being in the first place. Collective care is practiced widely among Black, Indigenous, people of color, queer, and disability communities because, quite frankly, it's a necessity. Collective care becomes a survival strategy when systems and safety nets fail. Meanwhile, many of us are raised under the ideals of independence and self-sufficiency and pushed away from these structures of support. But the good news is most of us are only 1 or 2 generations removed from social structures where interdependence was common. I would say it's a joke, but it's not really a joke. I don't have any of the skills to have the currently trending granny hobbies that I see on social media. I can't knit. I don't crochet. I honestly have no idea what a sourdough starter even is. But then I think about my grandma and I realize I never saw her do any of those things either. What she did do was create space for community. I did my undergraduate work in my parents' hometown, and Every week, I got to experience how my grandparents brought people together by hosting a weekly coffee time on Sunday mornings. If I was in town, I was there. Now, I usually joined the first shift, which meant I also got to help finish setting the table or bringing in chairs or doing whatever odd jobs needed to be done. But then I would sit down with my grandparents, some aunts and uncles, a handful of cousins, and listen to their stories. We would talk about our week. We'd share what was happening in our lives, get caught up. And eat the amazing food. And this is how I learned that my family's two love languages are either eating really good food or giving each other a really, really hard time. Joking apparently is our main love language. And so we would share these stories, eat the amazing food. So there were always sandwiches or sausages, which are Dutch immigrant food. And then my grandma would make an amazing dessert buffet. So 2 or 3 different kinds of cakes or bars or ice cream desserts, whatever it may be. And once she was done eating, and about the time the second shift came in from having attended Sunday school, she would flip into hostess with the mostest mode. And I, to this day, do not know whether she was just extremely generous and giving with her time or borderline was just crossing boundaries. But she got really sneaky about adding food to people's plates when they weren't expecting it. If she got caught, then she might ask the question, would you like another slice of cake? Or could I serve you another bar? It's already on the plate. And sometimes she was just kind of stubborn about the fact that, you're going to eat this one. You look like you want another piece. Just eat that for me. I don't want to have these here all week. Finish it now. Nobody left Sunday coffee time hungry. When my grandpa passed away towards the end of my second year of university, we weren't really sure how my grandma would handle widowhood. But it turns out that for 11 more years, coffee time shaped her entire week. It gave her a sense of purpose, structure, connection, and care. What we need to reclaim aren't necessarily grandparent hobbies, but grandparent style social circles. Broad, overlapping circles of care, family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, faith communities, hobby groups, volunteer groups, and of course, coffee time. Because increasingly, individuals are asking their partner or spouse or a tiny circle of friends or colleagues to meet all of their social and emotional needs. And that's just an incredible amount of pressure to place on a few relationships. But when we build wider circles of connection, care becomes more sustainable. There's more capacity to support each other through ordinary life. When we don't have lots of relationships, it's easier for them to collapse. And I had the unfortunate opportunity to see this in real life back in 2010. In January of 2010, I flew to the Dominican Republic to start a new job the day after an earthquake rocked the island. And 3 weeks later, I found myself in a Haitian refugee camp in Jimenez in the Dominican. Now, the refugee camp was housed in an unfinished boarding school. So the school had been converted into a hospital theater, clinic, operating rooms, recovery from post-op, pharmacy, and housing for volunteers. The dormitories were packed to the gills with Haitian people who had lost everything and were left trying to figure out what happens next. Now, I was not happy about going to the refugee camp, I'll be honest, not because I didn't want to help, but because I didn't have a purpose. I'm not a medical professional. I don't speak Haitian Creole or French. I wouldn't be able to help with communication. And quite frankly, I knew that my privilege was going to get me a place to sleep, food, all things that people actually needed more than me. However, at that point, I wasn't in a position to tell my brand new boss that I simply wasn't going. And so I realized that I would have to make the best of it. And that week, I became the best water woman in the camp. Throughout the day, I would fill up a pitcher, refill glasses in the dorms, and then return to the clinic and flag down doctors and nurses as requested. That week, I learned 2 words of Creole, de l'eau and douleur. De l'eau, water, and douleur, pain. Water and pain became my entire role and my entire vocabulary. In one of the dorms was a young man who cried day and night. He'd been sobbing since he arrived at the camp weeks before I did. And one night, my pitcher empty, I decided I was just going to sit next to him for a while. My time, my presence were literally all I had to give. And so I sat down. Now, from the rest of the young men in the room, this brought a little bit of teasing and giggling, but I slowly watched as their faces changed. They went from the goofy silliness to a more surprised or not sure, curious face. And I realized that the young man sitting next to me had stopped crying. And about the time I thought this was either a good idea or I've made a major cultural faux pas, I decided to turn and try to get a read on the situation when he also turned and looked at me. And in perfect English, he said to me, "You are the first person to see me as a person since I lost everyone." And then he proceeded to tell me how in that one fateful afternoon, he lost not only his family, but friends, neighbors, classmates at the university, any social circle he could think of to go look for survivors, he'd come up empty. And he wasn't really sure about whether or not he could go on all by himself. We exchanged a few words, and then as soon as there was a pause in our conversation, the rest of the room wanted to know exactly what he had just told me. They started bombarding him with questions in Creole, and I left him to retell his story. The next day, my last day in the camp, I saw him again. He wasn't crying. He was talking with his roommates, but they weren't just talking. They were laughing, telling stories, telling jokes. And that's the moment I knew for sure that he was going to be okay. He was going to survive. He was already rebuilding community, rebuilding connections. He was going to be okay. And I've seen this story play out in my work since then as a sociologist and community development practitioner over and over and over again. It's not that community magically changes everything. It doesn't. The community changes what becomes possible. People sustain themselves through connection, through belonging, through being seen, through building and rebuilding circles of care. And I think that changes how we should think about wellness entirely. Because the more I study health, wellness, and human flourishing, the more I've come to believe that we've been asking the entirely wrong questions all along. The question is never, do I have enough discipline, or how do I get more motivation, or do I care enough? The better questions are, what does it look like to be part of a healthy community? Or what becomes possible when I stop believing I have to do everything all by myself? Because community care isn't the opposite of self-care. Community care is exactly what makes self-care truly sustainable. Thank you.
Wow, what an amazing talk, Maria. How did that feel for you to deliver today?
It was fun. It feels good.
Yeah. Now, I know when we were talking backstage, you were excited to get through it and share it with the world. Does it feel good now that you've got all of that out into the world?
Yeah, it does. It feels really amazing.
Beautiful. And in the introduction, I mentioned that, I think this talk, and I don't know which way around it is, tell me, the talk created the book or the book created the talk? Because you've been working on an amazing book, haven't you?
So the experience from the talk started the book, and so it's all mushed together. But it was the lightning bolt of why is self-care the only thing we have to do by ourselves, was how the book got started.
Yeah, beautiful. And I love how you reframe self-care. Instead of it being something we got to force ourselves to do, something we can invite others in to help us to do. I think it's such a beautiful message. So I'm going to ask our beautiful audience, what is one way that community could support your self-care? We would love to know, wouldn't we, Dr. Maria?
We would. Thank you.
Okay, beautiful. Let's hear it again one more time for the incredible Dr. Maria van der Marten. Okay, guys, well, let's wrap it up there. But before we do, let's take a moment to appreciate what's happened here today, because we've had 3 incredible speakers and we have had 3 powerful messages that I hope have inspired and influenced you as much as they have me and all of our speakers backstage. And I want to remind you that transformation starts when we're willing to look at the world differently so that we can make different choices and in the future show up differently as well. So what did our speakers remind us of today? Lupita reminded us that numbers aren't there to trap us, they are our map to freedom. Carmen reminded us that story and art can allow us to use our imagination to move through difficult situations. And Maria reminded us that self-care becomes sustainable when we stop trying to do it all ourselves. So here's my final request for you. Drop one action in the chat that you're going to take away from today, that you are going to take action on. Because transformations don't happen when we listen. Transformation happen when we take action. So what is it for you? Maybe you'll take a look at your numbers in your business. Maybe you'll draw or write a story to help you get you through your next decision. And maybe you'll ask for some support instead of going alone. Don't just be inspired by it. Apply it. Share it with someone you care about. Let someone else inspire. Let's let these beautiful stories of transformation ripple through our communities so that even more transformation can happen. Because that is what transformational speaking is. So a massive thank you to our speakers, our guests, everyone watching on the replay. We love you as well, even if you couldn't be here. And if you're inspired on your own journey at this stage, on this page, you're going to find some links, some other trainings that you can click on and you can watch these yourself. And I want to thank you all for playing full out, for dropping messages in the chat, for giving some beautiful comments, showing so much love to our speakers today. They could really feel your energy backstage and it made all the difference. So we're going to leave it there for today. We want to thank you for attending and everybody who's been speaking today and everyone who's part of our Public Speaking Academy. We're going to see you in the other room in a minute. I want you to have an outstanding day. Keep the transformation going. And before we go, I want to remind you of one simple thing. And that is you, yes, you are totally and utterly, completely amazing.
One day, we'll be looking back on this and we'll say, aren't you happy that we did it our way? Everyone we knew was saying no way, but we were never listening anyway. So don't be just standing in the doorway. Don't you know we gotta hit the highway? Darling, this is gonna be a good day. And I've gotta say that I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. One day, I'll be looking back on this and I'll say, I'm so happy that you said you would stay. There were times I know that I was crazy, fraying at the edges and you saved me. I'm losing count of chances that you gave me. You're laughing at me dancing really badly and telling me the reasons why you'd gladly do it all again. Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Well, hey, words can never adequately convey everything you're giving to me today. But holding you is better than a holiday, and leaving you I dread it like exam day. So at the risk of sounding kinda risque, everything to now has been the foreplay. Darling, I would follow you to Norway or anywhere you want it. Cause I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. You're amazing. Oh, I'm not bad myself, but you're amazing. myself, but you're amazing. You're